It's a pleasure to have everybody. Thank you for coming. Welcome. My name is Burton. I'm the executive chef of the Renaissance Reno Downtown Hotel and Spa. So I oversee all the restaurant spaces that we have here on property as far as anything that touches food and beverage. And this is our newest addition. This is what we're calling the R Lab. So when we started way back in the day, we were the first non-gaming, non-smoking, fully branded hotel in downtown Reno. So if you walk past our bocce ball courts, that's where the casino used to be. We ripped out all the gaming, right? And it's, well, what do we do with all that gaming space? Well, we put in bocce ball courts. We do a 20,000 square foot restaurant. So between that and the Shore, which is right on the river, beautiful restaurant, another 200 seats, we really didn't need a third restaurant. So we had this walled off. This was basically our secret storage spot. So just recently, we came in here, gave it a little bit of a facelift. We still have some equipment and stuff coming, and this is going to be what we call the R Lab, which is an event space specifically geared towards culinary education and teaching and events. So wine dinners, cooking classes like this one that you're doing, some hands-on stuff. Part of my history is after working in San Francisco, going to school there, I came up, kind of did a stint in the Lake Tahoe area. I was recruited by the Hyatt in Incline Village. And then I was the opening chef for a little restaurant called Stella in Truckee at the Cedar House Sport Hotel. So while I was there, I created a website called Stella Culinary, which was educationally driven. And it was primarily because I enjoyed teaching, but also we wanted to be able to fill our shoulder seasons with cooking classes. And it grew over time, and now, even though I took a lot of time off to open up this place, my YouTube channel has about 170,000 subscribers, and podcast gets quite a few downloads, and we're ready to fire the machine back up. So a really important part of what we do here too is the content creation side. So you see we have cameras everywhere. We're recording this class tonight, which we'll be putting online, but also too eventually we'll have some cameras actually mounted so we can live stream and in a very fun and professional environment. So the idea is not only culinary education for people who come and visit, but also to be a voice for the food scene in Reno and also nationwide. So chefs that want to come and collaborate with us and hang out and do live streams and share their knowledge, we welcome them. So specifically tonight, what we're going to be doing is quick, easy, healthy cooking. If you watch some of my older videos, you'll see I was much heavier a few years ago. I lost about 100 pounds, and it's funny when people ask me, they'll say, well, how did you lose 100 pounds, right? And they always want like that secret, right? Like, I found this really cool herb at the top of the Himalayas, and I tell them, well, I counted my calories, and they're always like, oh. Such a bummer answer, right? Because everyone knows, calories in, calories out. So if you're taking more calories than you burn, then you're gonna gain weight. If you wanna lose weight, then you gotta take in less calories than you burn and you lose weight. And the only way to really do that, if you can't do it intuitively, which if you're 100 pounds overweight, obviously I can't do it intuitively, right, is to track it. But then once you learn to track, you can adapt that into your life and start eating intuitively, but also beyond just tracking your calories, it's really about setting yourself up for success, right? Having stuff in your back pocket that's quick, easy, some strategies that you would use in a professional kitchen, the same strategies that we use to get your entree out to you on time as soon as you order it is the same strategies that I use to go home and cook a quick and healthy meal to feed my family, right? And to lose weight and stay healthy. So who here likes salmon? Does everyone like salmon? Uh-oh. Oh no. Do you like shrimp?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm allergic to fish.
You're allergic to fish. Good to know.
The shrimp, if it's cooked, I'm okay.
Perfect.
If not, does anybody have a Benadryl?
So I have shrimp for a bonus round, and I'm going to share for our bonus round recipe, assuming that you guys want to see it. I have a secret recipe that I hesitated to share because it's so good. I'll tell you why. Anyways, but we'll get there in a second. So before anything else, I also want to introduce Dani Morris from Full Glass Hospitality. So she's also another local educator and content creator, and I asked her to be here tonight because she has a ton of knowledge in wine and in beverage and in cocktails. But what I wanted to do too is give you a complete sort of course as far as if it's summertime, it's bright, it's sunny out, you want to have people over. How can you get some quick, healthy stuff and go sit on your patio with some batch cocktails and not feel guilty about any of it? So Dani has some low-calorie cocktails that she's going to do. She's going to show you specifically how to batch them. And so we're going to take breaks throughout the night to have her mix and pour some cocktails. And we'll take our first break now, and we'll let Dani here take it away.
So yeah, tonight our focus is going to be on batch cocktails. If you guys want to have a party, these are cocktails that are really easy to make. And then also with a focus on being more health conscious. If we can do that with alcohol, I know that that can be. If you really are wanting to be calorie conscious, your best bet is going to be a vodka soda. I'll just put it there. But I didn't want to bore you tonight with that. Your girls, vodka sodas all around. But really, if you do go to a bar or if you're really trying to watch it for yourself, vodka soda is going to be your best bet. Or anything straight. I mean, honestly, straight tequila, straight vodka. All right, so anyway, our best spirits for low-cal are going to be, honestly, the clear ones, right? So tequila, vodka, gin. And I wanted to feature gin tonight because nobody ever features gin, and I love gin. Gin's my favorite. So if we're going to be batching, best batches are the ones that use the entire bottle. So we are featuring Hendrick's gin tonight. So for my people that are kind of hesitant about gin, Hendrick's is something that a lot of people actually do well with that don't really care for gin, because what makes gin a gin is botanicals. And all gins have to be juniper based. Yes, I'm just pouring an entire bottle of gin into here. All gins have to be juniper based, okay? And sometimes that's a little harsh for people. I'm just gonna try to be a little bit more elegant about this. There we go. You're doing great. Doesn't matter, aeration's totally fine for this gin, let me tell you. No need right there, okay? And so yeah, so Hendrick's is actually a gin that's really toned down on that juniper aspect. So if you're like, oh, I don't like juniper, this one has a little bit more of we call it the American style, a new American style, rather than a London dry style gins. And the beauty with gin, why I love gin so much, is because every brand of gin is unique. It's not like vodka, which we're all trying to make vodka not taste like anything, right? Gin is expressive, and we're using all these beautiful different botanicals in it. So it's something that you can really get into. So an original Gimlet was equal parts gin and something called Rose's lime juice. It's a liqueur, technically, full of sugar. So bartenders have kind of moved on from that. So instead, we're gonna use fresh lime and simple syrup to make this tonight. Now, I always recommend juicing your own limes. Don't buy the pre-made lemon or lime juice in the stores. It's so much better to do fresh. It took me like, I don't know, 3 minutes to juice all these limes, right? Just buy yourself a quality juicer at home. Worth every penny. I've broken so many of these. This is a KitchenAid one, I think. No, Chefin? I bought it at Sur La Table. Fantastic. And it doesn't take very long, and then you can just keep it, okay? Fresh juice will keep in the refrigerator for a couple days, so it's all right. All right, so I juiced a 1.5 cup amount of limes for us. So we're just gonna add that. And by the way, if you're ever afraid of screwing up a cocktail, you can always do the non-alcoholic parts first, so that if you do screw it up, you're not wasting your spirit. I know, I didn't do that this time, but we're not gonna screw up, it'll be fine, okay? And then we add our sweetener to this. So this is really the most simple of cocktails, right? We've got the spirit, we've got the acid coming from the lime, and then we've got the sweetener. So this is where you can use your best judgment. If you're really worried about sugar, you can go light on this. But in a batch scenario, we're going to do 2/3 cup. Simple syrup, by the way, don't ever buy it. Biggest waste of money ever. Equal parts, water and sugar. That's it. And you just heat it up on the stove. It's just, as soon as the sugar melts, you have simple syrup. And this will keep in your fridge for months. Literally, I have like 9 of these at my house. We add our simple syrup. And you know what, I'm actually gonna tone it down just a little bit. Give it a stir. And this is the beauty of cocktails, is if you like it on the sweeter side, you can always add more or you can always add less. So I'm just gonna give it a stir. Obviously, we would usually have ice in here, but it's not necessary because we're gonna give everybody their own individual serving with ice, okay? So again, this might not be your drink if you want something super sweet, but I'm gonna keep it like this, and then if you girls want more sweetener, guess what? You can just come right back to me and I will give you a little bit more sugar, okay? So what makes this really fun is we're adding a little basil flair to it. So we could have made basil simple syrup, but I like keeping things really simple for my guests so that they can just have fun with it. So we're just adding basil directly into the thing. So I already pre-made these, but I just added a few leaves of basil and then a muddler. If you don't own one of these, you can use the back of a spoon, easy peasy, right? And then you just kind of crush that basil up in there, and that just releases the aromatics, right? I'll just kind of give these a little bit more here. And then it adds a little bit of a fun basil flair to our gimlet. All right, getting all tangled up here. All right, ice. And then, you know, there's a decent amount of gin in here, so we're not gonna give it a full, we're just gonna kind of go like that, right? And to top it off, if you were having a party, right, you could have this pre-done for your guests if you want, or I would just have a little like instruction card, and people will have fun with that, right? You can always show them to top it off. Just take a basil leaf and then slap it. Ah. And then you can just kind of put it right in there. It's simple, right? This is not death and taxes status, but it's simple and great for our backyard party. So I'm going to start serving these up. If this is, like I said, if this is a little too tart for you, just let me know, and we can add some more simple syrup because we were looking for a refreshing, health-inspired cocktail tonight. We went a little lower on it. All right? Yeah, absolutely, ladies.
All right, so I'm going to show you two things with salmon. So one of the things that I like to do is so I'm not a big fan of bulk prep and then like eating the same thing for 5 days in a row. That's how I break my diet. So the people out there that can just do chicken and rice and Tupperware, God bless them. And I eat a lot of chicken and rice. I can't eat it reheated 5 days later, right? So what I do is I prep stuff up and I have it ready to go. So I have meat sliced, marinated for stir fries, chicken slice, or or like just the breast marinated for stir fries. And then so salmon, the thing I love about salmon, which honestly, I don't like salmon that much, but I still eat it because it's healthy for you, and my wife and daughter like it. And you can get high quality sides of salmon from a lot of different places. My favorite one being Costco. So Costco does a great job with their overall quality control. So I'll swing by Costco, grab a side of salmon, and it's really very approachable to break it down, and you're gonna get 2 meals out of it, and I'll show you how. So first thing we'll do, just grab that for me. So this is how it's gonna come from Costco. This is actually Verlasso salmon, which is a really nice farm-raised salmon, sustainable aquaculture. So you'll see most of the time the skin will be removed, which is good. That's what you're looking for. Ideally, you want a nice firm flesh. It shouldn't feel like slimy. It should smell like the ocean. It shouldn't smell fishy at all. So one of the things that drives me nuts is when you go to a restaurant and they serve you like the flap, right? Because there's no way to cook the salmon evenly when you have the flap or you have the tail. And it's also, well, like I always want to ask them, well, I paid full price for the flap part, so like who got the nice loin, right? So we always trim it up, but you never throw it away, right? So it's really simple cuts with a knife. I'm just taking away this little bit of fat here, and running my knife down along this edge. Okay, I'm going to square this belly, so where this loin rolls down, I'm just going to aggressively come and square it off. Just like that. And also, I'll square this as well. Okay? And one of the things that I tell my chefs all the time in the kitchen is it's our job as chefs to figure out what we're doing with our trim and to do actually good tasting stuff with the trim product, right? That's what chefs do. So that way, when you buy an entree from us, everyone's getting a premium entree cut, okay? So we have a loin that comes down. I'll also, at home, because the fish taco part's my favorite part, and that's what we do with the scraps, I'll also square this a little bit as well, okay? So then, a normal entree portion is usually 3 to 4 fingers. This is going to be about 5.5 ounces right there. And then as it tapers down, I'll cut them a little bit broader. And then for us here, since we're having salmon entree and tacos, I'll just cut these again, right? So it's just a smaller half a portion. Save that for tacos. I'll trim one more little piece up here for us. Fish is super easy because technically speaking, there's no connective tissue, right? So it's not going to be chewy. So you just want to keep it from drying out. So you're going to be using high fast cooking techniques like searing, which also makes it really convenient for, you know, a weeknight meal. So we'll cut a couple more pieces here, cut this tail, we'll save this loin for something else later. Something like this, you know, I'll actually at home, I'll chop this up and I'll feed this to my dog, right? Because, you know, I have a hound dog. If I don't feed him, he goes nuts. He wants what he, you know. So, and it's healthy for him, so I'll give him some of that. In the restaurant, we would actually turn that into what's called a rillette, where you poach it and you turn it into a paste and it becomes a spread. So now this is our nice belly portion for the tacos. So I'll take these guys and I'll just kind of cut them into strips. And it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, that was nice and long there. And I'll lay it all out. And again, it's kind of like batch processing, right? So this makes it convenient because while I'm prepping my dinner tonight, which at home with myself, my wife, my daughter, would be, you know, 4 pieces of salmon, because I'll usually eat a piece and a half. Sometimes my daughter will eat a piece and a half, right? And we'll eat it with some steamed rice or some, you know, some salad. But while I'm prepping all of that, I'm also prepping a meal that we'll have a few days later. So I'll leave it kind of on the cutting board like this. Okay. And you can use any seasoning that you want. I really like barbecue seasonings on salmon. But here we'll just do some simple salt and pepper. Little trick when you're seasoning, season high from above because it looks really cool. But the real reason why is it falls much more evenly, right? So the closer I am to something, the more clumpy my salt will get. If I season from above, it'll kind of flake down and it'll give it, you know, a more even coating. I have pepper here. If you like pepper, use it. I'm not a big fan of pepper on fish, especially if I'm going to sear at a high temperature. If I want that pepper flavor, I'll add it at the end, okay? Now, this is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, especially for healthy cooking. This I got for $13. I got it used at Goodwill, right? Because everyone thinks that they're going to wake up every Sunday morning and make pancakes and, you know, and live that dream, and then they don't, and they donate to Goodwill, and I come and pick it up. But it's really quick and easy for searing stuff, right? And you see, I throw some olive oil down, but then I come back and I wipe it up with a paper towel, so it's a nice thin coating. But even that's, I mean, it's going to sound geeky. I measure everything in grams, right? So that is about 10 grams of olive oil, which is going to be about 100 calories. So even if I left all that here, 100 calories for our olive oil split between 12 people is still not that much, right? So now I'll lay these guys down, and we're just searing them. And we're going to sear on both sides. And then while we're searing these guys, we're going to go ahead and start prepping some other stuff. And like a little trick that we do in the restaurant, when you come in and you order a salmon, but you get a Caesar salad first, we sear that salmon right away while the Caesar salad is being made, and we put it on what's called repose. Repose just means rest, right? And then when it's seared on both sides, actually we'll go ahead and save that guy. When it's seared and ready to go, we put it on a sheet tray, like one of these, and we'll just give it a quick flash in a hot oven, right? Right at the end. So Mackenzie, actually, what oven do you have the tortillas in? So this one right here in the middle, let's go ahead and turn this guy all the way up. For us, we're always cooking with high heat. So this is the hottest I can get this. right? The oven's at the hottest because you're constantly flashing stuff. And so a lot of the times too in professional cooking, you want two separate textures, right? You want your interior doneness and you want your exterior doneness. So you want some color on the outside, but if you just sear it all the way through, then you're gonna have, your crust is gonna be way too thick, right? So this, we're gonna get our color where we like it, we're gonna rest it on the tray, and then we're gonna continue on with the rest of our prep. So I'm gonna turn this over to Mackenzie. She's gonna swap with me. And Mackenzie, what I want you to do is go ahead and lay down a couple of saute pans, and then just give these guys a quick sear for me and put them onto a quarter pan down here. All right, so this is our salmon here. And while that's searing, we're gonna prep a really quick, healthy sauce for it. Mackenzie, if you can toss me those cucumbers that you had earlier. How many of you enjoy tzatziki? So tzatziki is a great, healthy sauce, and this isn't a traditional tzatziki, right? This is kind of a quick one, but this is very close. The reason why I mentioned tzatziki is, who here has made tzatziki before? You ever had an issue with becoming too watery on you? It becomes watery and bleeds out and it's all gross? Well, I'm gonna show you how to stop that from happening. Now the peel I take off because that's just kind of how I do it. You don't have to, it's optional. So I'll split these down the middle. We'll take out the seeds because number one, the seeds are gonna have a ton of water. So just using the tip of a spoon, scrape the seeds out. So that's gonna be number one. Yeah, so this in your salads. Oh yeah, that'll change your life. Yeah. Yep. And that's the problem, is when you put them on a salad, so a trick for your salad too is you always want to, if you're doing like a simple like oil and vinegar, you always want to coat your salad greens lightly with oil first and then add your vinegar, because the water will migrate into your salad leaves and displace it and collapse it. And that's how it bruises, right?
You're
so
welcome, lady.
And I'm going to show you that technique a little bit later, but it's so simple. You coat your salad greens with oil, just enough to where they're lightly coated, right? And you season with vinegar and salt to taste. And that's going to keep it from going brown on you. But also too, that's why if you add a cucumber that has its seed in there, the water's going to weep out and it's going to make your salad wilt really quickly. So here I'm just going to give these, to make them look nice, a quick cut on the bias. I have a lot of knife skill videos if you want to, learn how to actually like hold a knife and that sort of stuff. But this is your professional pinch grip, claw hand, right? And we're going to just cut them thin. Now you can use a mandolin. You can use like a chopping motion. You can use a rocking motion.
Is it cheating you have to serve processor?
No. There's no. Oh, thank you. Well, you don't have to look when it's in contact with your hand. So we're gonna go ahead and flip these guys real quick. Oh, look at that. That's what you call the perfect timer right there. All right, so trick number 2 to non-watery yogurt sauce or tzatziki is it goes in the bowl and then you lightly salt it. Give it a stir. Well, by chef's terms, it's slightly salted. And you let it sit to the side for about 20 minutes. What's going to happen is it's going to weep water. Okay? So then you come back 20 minutes later, or longer, right? Like, that's the thing, is you kind of get ahead with your prep. And then you can see all this water. So Mackenzie did this about 30 minutes ago. See all that water that came out? So what's going to happen is when you make your yogurt or your tzatziki sauce, you're going to want to season it with some salt. There's also acid in the yogurt, so that's going to draw a bunch of liquid out of the cucumbers anyways, which is why you make your tzatziki or your yogurt sauce first, and it looks perfect, and then later it's all water. You're like, what the hell happened? Well, that's what happened. So we'll dump that guy out, but also an important step is you want to transfer it by squeezing the juice out. Okay? And that's also going to not only keep it from weeping into your sauce, but it's also going to keep the cucumber crunchy. So when you mix this sauce together, it'll last in your fridge for like 5 to 7 days, easily. So again, prepping ahead, right? So this sauce with some Greek yogurt, nice high protein with some salmon. I'll serve this with some steamed rice, little side salad, and call it good. And I love steamed rice. I always have. I grew up with a Portuguese grandmother who made steamed rice all the time. My wife's Filipino, right? So we eat a lot of steamed rice. And I like it. It's a pure carbohydrate, so it's really easy to measure. Put it on the scale, measure it out. I can track my calories and my macros very easily that way. Also, too, one of the things about tracking your calories is it allows you to make conscious decisions as to where you want to spend them, right? So I'll save calories, like I'll eat egg whites for breakfast, not because whole eggs are bad, but because I want to save my fat for later on in the day, because I'm planning on eating a ribeye steak, or I'm going to have like a high-fat salad dressing for dinner, right? If I don't plan on having a high-fat dinner later on, then I'll eat my whole eggs as normal. Yep. I use MyFitnessPal to track it. And I'll give you guys a little tip on loading in your own recipes too here in a second. So we're going to take these off. All right, so once all that cucumber is squeezed out, I'll show you how we whip together that sauce real quick. But in the meantime, we're going to do some prep for our tacos. So for me, I like a little bit of cabbage, some diced tomato. We'll make a really quick, healthy guacamole, and we'll cut up some red onions, okay? For fish tacos, you have to have cabbage. And you want to cut it nice and thin. So this is a good time to actually practice your knife skills. So I'll cut it in half first, and I'll take out the core with just a V cut. And then I'll split it again, so now it's in quarters. So the whole idea behind professional knife skills is holding your knife like this in a pinch grip, right? So that way it's in line with your wrist, so you have complete control of the action. If I hold it like this, like it's a hammer, it's out of alignment with my wrist, and I don't have control over the blade. I can't articulate it, right? So that's step number one. Step number two is just getting comfortable with putting the flat of it against the first knuckle on your middle finger, because that's the furthest point on your hand, and then keeping everything else behind it, including your thumb, because your thumb's going to act as a post. You're going to pull towards it. So what that does, it allows me to cut and know where my knife is at all times, right? And then control the size of my cuts by incrementally pulling my fingers back. So it's just muscle memory. It just takes, so it's understanding the technique and then taking the practice. So then something like this, it's just a radial sort of movement, okay? And you can shave it nice and thin. What's that? The cores? All right, Mackenzie. What? Well, that's, you know where the knife's at, right? Because it's touching your finger. Just kidding. Just kidding. Oh, we do. All right. You have that cabbage for me, Mackenzie? When I'm doing fish tacos, this is the first thing that I'll do, because the salmon belly will sear up really fast, and I want to let this marinate a little bit. So earlier we were talking about, go ahead and just put that on the side. We were talking about saving your calories, right? So traditional fish tacos, they do a mayonnaise sauce, they squirt all over it, right? And it's really, really good for obvious reasons. So what I do instead is I get my creaminess from the slaw and I use light mayo. So light mayo is about a third of the calories of traditional mayo, and I'm using just enough to coat. All right, so a trick for the people who use MyFitnessPal. Who's used a calorie tracker before? Perfect. So this is a really good tip because I always build my own recipes, and this is also too how I create and standardize recipes. I do everything by weight, right? Because how much is a bunch of cilantro? I don't know. It's a bunch, right? How much is 10 grams of cilantro? It's consistent every time. So here I have a digital scale. You can do ounces, pounds, grams. I just set it to grams because base 10 is way easier. I put whatever ingredient I'm using on the scale, and I hit the tare button. Tare sends it back to 0. Okay? So now I pick this up, and I'll add it by sight or by taste. And again, I'm looking for just a thin coating. Now remember, we have a lot of cabbage here that feed a lot of people, all right? So I'll put that back. That's 134 grams. I'm gonna mix it in, give it a nice coating. But again, I'm looking just for, it doesn't need to be that much. So what you would do, and the lower calorie stuff like your lime juice, your salt obviously has no calories. So all those sort of things, even the cabbage, like you want to weigh the cabbage to get a base weight. But you don't have to be super crazy about it. You load that in, so you take these notes down. So you have your cabbage weighed out, you have your mayo weighed out, which is 134 grams. And then we're going to put in the lime and the salt. So I'm going to just add some lime juice to taste for some zest. And then when you load this into MyFitnessPal, when you go in to create your recipe, you load everything in by weight, by the grams, right? And then the trick is when it asks you for how many servings it makes, you weigh your end batch in grams and you put it in that number. So this will be like 2,000 grams or let's call it, it's 2,000 just for argument's sake. So you say this is 2,000 servings. So then later on in the week when you come back to have your slaw, you just weigh it on your scale. You get 30 grams of slaw. You put it in MyFitnessPal. You say I had 30 servings of my slaw.
Does it mess with your head?
Ounces works fine too. Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. So we'll go ahead and give that a mix. We'll throw in a little bit of salt. And we'll sit this aside to let it marinate and get nice and delicious. So now our slaw's done.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Chef Jacob.
Thank you. Next, we're just going to do a tomato real quick. So I'm going to take the core out, quarter it. Now here I'm going to take the seeds out because again, water content, right? So you can dice up the tomatoes as is with the seeds if you want, right? But again, it's gonna make your tacos watery. So I like to take the seeds out. I'll cut them into strips, and you'll see it's skin side down because it's easier for your knife to cut through the flesh side. And then just cross cut into, this isn't a garnish, so it's just a rough dice, right? We don't have to be super precise about it. So just strips.
We're gonna measure them, Chef.
Cross cut. Well, I used to have, when I first started off working in a Michelin kitchen in San Francisco, the chef would come by and he would take the pan, and he would throw it on the table, and he'd pick out the smallest one and the biggest one, and he'd say, these are not the same, and he would throw the whole thing away.
Oh my God.
And so in that scenario, for those of you who want a perfect dice, here's what we do in a French kitchen, is you square first, square here, right? And then come straight down. So that becomes scrap. You turn that into tomato water as a garnish. So square there. And then it's draw your knife through. And that's your garnish dice, right there, right? All right, so now we got our diced tomato. So I'm gonna pass this off to Mackenzie here in a second, but just a couple of tips on your avocado. So first of all, who's the nurse in the crowd? Oh, we got 2 of them. Now I was told once, this might be a lie. This might be like one of those things, like my wife in the Philippines. They say don't go to bed with your hair wet or you'll go blind, right? It's one of the things that you tell your kids so they behave, right? So my daughter is terrorized by all that sort of stuff, and she always dries her hair before bed. But I was told that that taking the avocado pit out like this is the most common cut that they see in the emergency room. Does that have any truth to it?
Oh my God, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Glued her finger last week in the ER.
Because of that? There you go.
Because it goes through?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no really other better way to do it though, in my experience. So you want to be careful with it, and it's a real, you don't have to be aggressive, right? It's a real simple tap and turn, and then the important part is the eject, right? From this part you basically push down with your thumb and you eject it off. But yeah. Yep. So yeah, cutting off either end, it gives you a cleaner scoop, and also too, it's just part of the routine, right? But topping and tailing, it just makes it easier to work with.
Topping and tailing?
Yeah.
Topping and tailing. What did I learn in the avocado? Now I know.
Well, there you go. So I'll scoop it out. I'm going to pass this off to Mackenzie. So give her a hand with the tortillas. And then, yeah, we're just going to just get the rest of those in there for me. And then we'll go from there.
We have a question.
Yep.
Somebody would like to know, how do you pick out, what's the best way to pick out a good avocado?
Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. This is one of the best tips you'll ever get, because it actually works really good. Okay, best way to pick out a fresh avocado. You go to the store, you look at your avocado bin, you pick them up. First of all, step 1, they have to be a little bit soft at the top where it attaches. Okay, so you want to press, but don't be mean about it, right? Because you don't want to bruise it and leave a bad avocado for somebody else. So you press it, and you find a soft, but if it's too soft, then you know it's kind of past its prime. All right? Then the next step, and this is the real secret part, is you take this stem here, you pop it back, and you peek inside. Now, if it's green inside, in the grocery store.
You're paying a lot of money for this.
Look, it's a quick little, it's a quick little, this little peel it back, right? Because sometimes you find an avocado that.
You're welcome to somebody else that isn't going to find that piece in their guacamole. All right.
Well, and sometimes you'll find an avocado with that missing because I've already been there, right? But you pop this out and you look inside. If it's green, then it's ripe. If it's brown, then it's over. Okay? So step 1 is you press the top. If it's firm, it's not ripe, and you move on. You don't move to step 2, which is flip the top, right? You can do that as well. But I mean, that requires planning ahead, right? I'm driving home from work at the end of the night. I want some guacamole. I need some ripe avocados. But yeah, you can also let them ripen. Okay, so our last thing to prep for our tacos is our red onion. All right. So again, we're going to top and tail. And this is, I'll demonstrate 2 different cuts for you real quick, just for fun, because it seems that you guys appreciate the knife skills. So I only need 1 or 2. Yeah. So when I take off this root end, I'm still leaving the majority of the root. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, okay? I'm going to cut off the top to get a flat end. All right. So the second one, I'll actually cut the root off completely. And I'll explain why in a second. So in this one, we're going to go ahead and dice. So to do that, I'm going to remove the skin. Also too, in general, to work fast, you always want to work in steps. So if I was being disciplined, I would have actually cut this guy in half first, so that way I wouldn't have to pick up my knife again. So if I'm cutting a bunch of onions, I'll do each step first, right? And I'll set down my knife and peel, and you'd be surprised at how much time that actually saves you in a professional environment when you're cutting, 50 pounds at a time. Okay. All right, so for your dice, there's two ways to do it. Oops. So I'll bring it close to the table here, and I'll stand off center like this, right? Not that dramatic, but I'm kind of a staggered stance, because if I'm like this, see how like crunched up I am, right? So I don't have any dexterity here, right? So if I just stagger my stance a little bit, then I can slide the knife through. And this is where sharp knives are important, because you want the knife to do the work for you. So I'm going to start at the heel here. I'm just going to draw the knife through horizontally. Any knife that can get sharp, for real. So I mean, I started off with all sorts of fancy knives, and so you want to make vertical cuts next. But you have different, Japanese knives, German knives.
Not even all the way through.
Yeah.
You didn't go all the way through to the other side? No, I'm just curious. Did you go?
Oh no, so that's a good question. The root end hold it together, right? So again, so you're gonna come here, right? So I'm not going all the way through because the root's gonna hold my dice together. Okay, so then I'm going to come back down. Okay, so see how it's all held together? Right? So then now come back and cross cut into your dice. Now, when you get to your root end, you just come back and give it a couple more of these. And then you put these in a FedEx box and ship them over to Isha for her stock.
Oh yes, stick it in your freezer. Stick it in, or you're gonna try it, chef. You're gonna be like, dang. Okay, but how are you not crying?
Oh, that's a good question. How am I not crying? Well, after years of abuse, so the onions, onions or alliums in general, it's a defense mechanism, and it's actually very similar to mustard gas. And for the mustard gas to form, to make your eyes teary, you have to actually crush the cell walls of the onion. So a razor sharp knife is actually going to slice through the onion, right? And it's not going to crush the onion. So when you see the onion sort of bruised and you're crying, that's why it's time to sharpen your knife. And that's, people, they spend all this money on very nice knives, and they come and they're really razor sharp. And then they use them for a year and they're dull, and they may as well just have a $20 hand-me-down, right? So proper knife sharpening or finding a local sharpener who can take care of your knives is the better investment.
Rayleigh's does it, girl.
There you go.
Rayleigh's sharpens your knife.
So then, just like for our cabbage, we're going to do a radial cut. So this is if you want to do strips or a julienne. Okay, so again, it's just guide hand technique. I'm coming in like this. Okay, my thumb is the post, pulling back, right, holding my knife properly. And I'm going to come back nice and thin so I can get a nice thin slice so it's not too sharp. And I'm going to work my way up to 90 degrees. I'm going to flip it over. So I'm going to start at an angle coming in at like 45 and work my way up to 90. Okay, so it looks something like this. When I get to 90, I flip. And again, okay? And then when you get more comfortable with your guide hand,
Okay. Ah, he's such a show. I know, he is. Bravo.
so then, sure.
When you're mad at your wife, do you do that? Just look at her like.
You've obviously never met my wife.
I was thinking about that.
All right. So that's it though, and this is enough prep for 12 people, right? So you're doing this for a family of 4, a family of 6. It's really quick and easy to put together. You can throw some saran wrap over this, and you can have this in your fridge for a couple of days. That's another thing. I like to chop up vegetables when I have free time. I'll take them, I'll just julienne them, I'll throw them in stir fries, I'll throw them in salads. So having the base ingredients, instead of having an actual meal prepped, having the base ingredients ready to go at any time allows you more fluidity in your decision making. So I think right now is actually probably a great time to stop for our next cocktail, right?
All right, so I couldn't have planned this better. Palomas with tacos. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Palomas, a Paloma is based out of tequila and grapefruit juice, okay? They are very, very simple, and I also bartend a few nights a week, and I will tell you, Palomas are probably my most made cocktail. I'm at Midtown Wine Bar on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So yeah, Palomas, if you want to go sugar-free or just something that's very low in sugar, Paloma is a really great option because you're only really getting your sugar from grapefruit juice. And then the recipe I'm using tonight has a little bit of agave syrup in it to just balance it out. But if you were to come to a bar and you ordered a Paloma, it would just be straight tequila, grapefruit juice, and lime. So very simple. And as I mentioned before, too, the whole vodka soda thing is great. Vodka grapefruit's always easy, or vodka, well, vodka lime, or we had gin and lime. But those are all very simple. Just a juice with a spirit is a super, super simple, relatively low-cal, low-sugar drink. Even though I know some people say that juice is really bad for you. I don't know. No, I mean, whatever. Yeah, exactly, and it's sugar, so. Okay, so on your handouts, if you guys want to take these when you go home, this is like quadruple. That's enough for 24 drinks. If you're having a really big party, that's perfect. I'm going to half it tonight just because it literally won't fit in the pitcher. So we're going to start with 1 1/3 cup of grapefruit juice. And this is the only juice that I really recommend that you don't have to juice this yourself. This is an orange juice. I mean, sure, a freshly pressed grapefruit juice is amazing, but I mean, it's also kind of messy because it's so big, right? So yeah, so here we go with our grapefruit juice, 1 1/3 cup. Okay, again, we're batching this, right? You guys can always make these individually as well. You can just use equal amounts. Okay, and then 1 1/3 cup tequila. So we've got the Don Julio Blanco tonight, that's just awesome. All right.
Fun Julio right there.
And you know what's funny is, as a bartender, I never use measuring cups. Like, do you ever see a bartender in a bar doing this, being like, yeah, measuring cup? No, we usually are using jiggers, right? These are our standard tools for bartenders. But that's the great thing about batching stuff is you really don't need all these tools tonight. I'm not using any of these things. I'm literally just using my measuring cup, which is really nice, okay? Then we're also gonna do 1/2 cup of lime. I already juiced it. No, not used to that. Okay, 1/2 cup. 1/2 cup of lime juice.
Lime juice.
I juiced it already, so you guys didn't have to. Okay, this recipe uses 1/2 cup of water as well. You can use it or not. You know, I already have some ice sitting in here. That's going to naturally dilute your drink too, but depends on the recipe. Traditional ones don't necessarily use water, but when you're using a big batch like this, it's kind of convenient to add the water in there already. And then 2.5 ounces or 5 tablespoons of agave. So agave is a really great alternative if you don't want to use simple syrup. If you're against refined sugars or anything, agave syrup is going to be very easy. Okay, so we're gonna only do, and you can find this at any grocery store. Okay, very simple. And then the recipe did call for a little bit of salt, so we're gonna do a little salt, right? Just kind of mix it in there. Keep it simple. Right? All right, and then we're gonna give this a little stir. Again, if you are making this for a crowd, I guess I could have doubled this, huh? If you are making this for a crowd, you can chill it, right? Keep it in the fridge until ready to use. And then we're gonna pour it about halfway into each glass. And this is something that you can do with your guests. I know that we were saying before that we could top pretty much any cocktail with club soda. Club soda, guys, is just carbonated water, okay? So top it with that. And then I pre-cut some beautiful grapefruits so you can make it look pretty. Whoop. and there's our drink. So really simple, right? Very simple.
All right, so for our cilantro,
We're good. We're missing just one.
yeah, I was gonna do some simple stuff real quick. So the cilantro, I'll go ahead and just what I call it taming it, right? So I'll leave the stems on and everything. I like the stems; they're nice and crunchy. So I'll just do a cross cut because I like big sort of leaves on my tacos. But also too, the more you run your knife through your herbs, the more essential oils it releases, and that flavor ends up on your cutting board, right? So just a quick little taming of the cilantro, and we'll set that aside. So if you want your herbs finer, so here's actually a little trick for you. If you want your herbs a little bit finer, and it's hard to do that with gloves on, is you want to really bundle your herbs up really tight, and again, use your good knife skills technique to run your knife through to make them nice and thin, right? Because what you're doing is you're getting them nice and small in one pass, and you're not bruising them and leaving all that flavor on your board. So next, we're gonna go ahead and finish our yogurt sauce real quick. So we have our squeezed out cucumbers here. I'm gonna add in some Greek yogurt, which again has, you know, great macros, really high in protein. Give that a stir, and we're doing just enough to coat, and you can add as much or as little yogurt as you like. But it's really just, it's this, yogurt, season, and then your herbs of choice.
Which are normally like dill.
Yeah, so in this case, it's a very classic is like a cucumber dill yogurt sauce. So at Gary Danko's, one of their classic dishes forever was a salmon that they would do with a cucumber dill sauce. What's that?
I was wondering if you got dill.
So again, this is just something that you do to sight. So a lot of the ways that I teach cooking is how to actually build flavor structures and how to mix things to your personal preference. A lot of times people, they see recipes as like these magical potions that they have to follow exactly or they're gonna ruin everything. Whereas this, it's like if you like it more cucumbery, add less yogurt. If you like it less dill or more dill, add it to your heart's desire, really, right? So I'm gonna add the dill, we're gonna chop that up. Just a couple of quick mincing motions. Gonna throw that in. I like some chive too, and we'll do a little bit of the green onion. So we'll do, and again, this is just whatever you have in your kitchen, right? I'll do, I like to keep green onions on hand. I like to keep chives on hand.
Is anyone in here able to cut their chives that I could totally do it if I wanted.
So here's a trick for you, right? You cut your chives like this, and you call them chive batons, which is a French term. And you're nice and fancy, and you say, oh, I like to do a bâtonnet of my chives, right?
Okay, here's a
We
way
need
better.
all these terms in the recipes so that we know. Yeah. I got you, boo.
So then I'll take the white portion of the green onion, because it's nice and crunchy, a little bit of a sharpness. Now, if the white portion is a little bit too sharp for you, you can flip it around and use the green portion, right? So again, that's your flavor structure. That's how you're adjusting the recipe to your taste. We're gonna do some lemon. Now between the lemon and the yogurt, it can get kind of sour, so we're gonna add a little bit of organic honey. Another good thing that I use a lot is I like stevia, and I'll use stevia packets, or even stevia is a really easy herb to grow, and so it's an herb extract. So all that stevia extract sugar that you guys, or the sugar replacement, it comes from an herb, and you should actually chop that herb up and add it into your sauces, and it's really sweet. It's an herb. Yep, and it grows like a weed. So. But I'll add just a tiny bit of honey to this. And again, you don't need much, right? It's just because we don't want this to necessarily be like a honey sauce. we're gonna add just a little drizzle. So if we put that on our scale and measure it, that's maybe like 15 grams, okay? In the big scheme of things, it's not really gonna throw off your macros and what you're eating. It's gonna add a couple extra calories, but it's also gonna take away that sharpness of the sauce and make everything a lot more enjoyable to eat. So then this would go directly on top of your roasted salmon. So your salmon entree would be your seared salmon with this dill on top, this dill cucumber sauce on top, and also a a side of starch or a salad or however you want to do it, right? So real simple and easy. You can serve it on the side of the table. And then to finish off our tacos, we only really have 2 steps left. Both are really simple. So step 1 is the tortillas. So the tortillas, I already had Mackenzie do for us. Will you go ahead and grab me that tray, please? So to bring back your corn tortillas to the highest quality, I just, again, throw them on my trusty flat top. This can just be a dry saute pan, right? Anything will work. If you want to show off, you can do it over a live flame.
That's what I do.
Yep, there you go. So we're basically just gonna toast them on both sides until they just, you'll feel them, right? They'll soften up a little bit. They won't be as stiff anymore. So these are glass polishing towels. So any, at home they call them like tea towels, right? So any sort of towel that you have that doesn't have lint, right, you'll want to use for this. So a nice, clean, lint-free towel. We run it under water. We wring it out really good so all the water drips out, and then just lay it on a plate. Pop it into a 250-degree oven, and it'll keep them nice and warm and steamed. So you can do this, again, up to 30 minutes in advance. And this way you can have your tortillas nice and hot and steamed and ready to go. And so we'll pop these back in the oven here. And then avocados. So guacamole, again, real easy. This is an industrial size masher. Yeah. So again, health conscious, not a whole lot of ingredients, all right? Super simple. Just a little drizzle of olive oil for creaminess, okay? Sprinkling of salt, again from above so you look cool. And then probably about the juice of 2 limes, maybe 3. And again, so this is the super easy. Avocado, olive oil, healthy fats, okay? Fat coats the palate. When it coats the palate, it brings richness and flavor and texture, but it also will mute your other flavors. Acid and heat cut through that fat. So that's why something that's rich like this, you want to add acid, you want to add heat, so you can add like some chili flakes, a little bit of hot sauce. Does anyone here not like spicy? Okay, you don't like spicy? So for you, it'd be more like an acid thing, right?
Like burn my mouth, burn my mouth.
So then,
Oh yeah.
just give it a smash.
And guess what? You're all gonna get one of those in your swag bag tomorrow.
So again, just a quick mash.
You just do what you're doing, man. Beautiful.
And that's,
Honey, you love it.
and that's really it. So a rubber spatula is the appropriate tool for dismount here, right? Gives it a nice clean bowl. And I like to leave a little bit chunky. If you like it smoother, you can smooth it through a fine sieve, or you can just smash it more. All right, so there's our guacamole. We have the tortillas. You have the salmon fired? Let's go ahead and fire. So what Mackenzie's gonna do is she's gonna pop the salmon into a 500-degree oven, and we're gonna cook it just until we see a little bit of the white albumin coming out, okay? And, yep, it's the protein that's in the salmon. So in the meantime, we're gonna do a quick little double bonus round for you. So shrimp is one of the easiest things to cook. It's also my favorite protein. Super lean, super high in protein, really healthy for you. You take this, you can poach it, leave it chilled, put it on top of salads, right? Stir fry, it's all really, really good. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get this hot for me. We're gonna get a wok hot because the wok is just gonna be a real easy way to cook these. But a saute pan, flat top, all those are gonna work. Now this is my secret recipe that I was really not wanting to give away, but I'm gonna do it because that's how I like to do. Okay? So this is my take on a Thai style curry. Yeah. Now in Thai cuisine they do a peanut butter curry, right, with coconut milk, which is high in fat, and peanut butter, which is high in fat, right? This is PB2. So it's a powdered peanut butter that they extract a decent amount of the fat from, and so it's really high in protein. And you can just bring it back with just a little bit of water, and you can spread it on like whole grain toast and. Yep. What's that? Where do you get it? Sometimes you can find them at Winco. Other times you can find it at Costco. This is the Costco size. They sell out. They don't always carry it. When I find it, I buy like 5 of these. Okay. So this goes in to a mixing bowl. And again, we're gonna mix this to sight because the peanut butter is gonna be our base, and because it's already dehydrated, we're gonna basically thin this with water and a little bit of lime juice until it reaches, I got hot fast, cool. Until it reaches the consistency that we want. So I'm gonna thin this out. So again, and what happens is sometimes you'll over thin it, so you just add a little more peanut butter, right? Or a little more powder. So you can see it's starting to clump. If you wanted to do this on like a PB&J, you would thin it to a peanut butter consistency, but we're making a sauce with it. Yeah, so it's to break it up better. I'm gonna use this whisk here. All right, so that's about the consistency you're looking for. Like a really thin batter. Now, if you like it thinner, you go thinner. If you like it thicker, you just add less water, right? Again, it's really just understanding, the guiding principles of the dish and then adjusting to your consistency. So this is a Thai style red curry paste. You can use any sort of curry paste. And again, I'm just gonna add this to taste here. A couple of clumps go in. So you can get this from any Asian market. So we order this from like a specialty purveyor, but this is the brand that you'll find in like an Asian market, yeah. Oh, hey, I need you to run next door and grab me like 10 packets of stevia, please. Yeah, it'll be over on the sugar station where the servers are. So that's one thing. So for this recipe, you do need some sweet. So I add stevia or I'll add swerve, okay? But the sweetness is gonna counterbalance that kick. Now, when you're making a traditional curry, we use a method that I refer to as the flavor punch, where you take a single ingredient and put it way out in the left field. So in this case, it's gonna be the spice. So we throw the spice way out in the left field to where it's almost too spicy, and then we reel it back in. We make with some sweetness for the balance, because sweet balances spice. And then after that, we balance the sweet with our acid, because acid balances sweet, right? Then you do a final seasoning at the end. Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah. So we'll add. Okay, all right.
Okay, do it for the South.
All right. Okay. A little more. Now your shrimp, you can cook any way. You can stir fry, you can sear, you can grill. Any number of things you can do. Now I like a little bit of cilantro in here too. So just so happens we have some cilantro handy sitting by.
And you did a beautiful job setting it up.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And did you say put lime in there too?
Yep, yeah, we're gonna put lime, but we're gonna wait till Mackenzie comes back with the stevia, because I'm gonna want to sweeten it first, just a little bit, and then taste the lime. So we'll use the ends of the green onion. And then while we're waiting for that, we'll go ahead and you can see our cabbage is nicely dressed, and you can see how much moisture it is now, right? So again, it didn't take a whole lot of that light mayo to give it that thin coating. So this is mainly just your cabbage, some lime, a little bit of light mayo, some salt. And again, to taste, right? So you add just enough lime for that sharpness and the mayo for the creaminess. But the salt and the mayo and the lime will all help to draw some liquid out of the cabbage, which will make the cabbage perceptibly more moist and creamy. So then when you come up to make your tacos, you'll just have the tortillas, all of your toppings, and just kind of throw it in as needed. We'll get you guys some utensils here in a second. Yeah, we're not using that.
Huh?
That's
regular sugar?
No, nothing. I don't really have a favorite dish. I like to cook everything. So we don't have any stevia over there. We're not going to sweeten this, and it's going to be just fine. You guys will taste. It'll still be nice. Just so you know, though, if it tastes a little bit sharp and spicy for you, right? A little bit of stevia or swerve in here will balance that out. Also, too, because you don't have a ton of fat from your coconut milk and the traditional peanut butter, you can give up some calories on some sugar. I try and avoid refined sugars, right? That's one of the things I really try to avoid. So now the sauce is made. Okay, it's got a good kick to it. We have our wok here. If you can grab this camera and turn around. Let it charge with some heat. And also, too, I'll bring this over and I'll fire up a low flame. There's no reason to transfer this into a separate pot if you're careful with what you're doing. Okay, so get the wok nice and steaming. So here you can see we store our shrimp in a perforated pan, so it's draining, right? So we'll go ahead and just do a little bit of olive oil in the pan there. Shrimp goes in. Nice thing about shrimp, it's really easy to cook. When it's pink, it's done, right? So there's no like secret to it. So we'll add just a little bit of salt for a baseline seasoning. So also too at home, when you have burners that are a little bit weaker than like a professional burner, you know, trying to cook stir fries, allowing it to really sit and charge, and then when you throw your ingredients in, letting your ingredients just kind of settle in the wok and get that hard sear on it before you start mixing it too much. So now over here we have our sauce that we made in the bowl. I'm just going to take the chill off a little bit. And Mackenzie, if you could grab me a serving vessel of choice. Yeah, for the shrimp. We're going to do the shrimp platter. Oh yeah, Mackenzie's a rock star. There's a reason she's over here with us. Actually, let's go long. Long? Yeah, let's go long and flat. Or something broad. All right, so in the meantime, while we're waiting for that shrimp to finish cooking, it's my favorite tool because it's a hot plate. Also, what's nice is if you have like a really bad hood in your kitchen, like I do, right? Like I have one of those shitty above the stove, like microwave things that tries to suck air out. In the summertime, you can just wheel this outside into your backyard with an extension cord and sear steaks and all sorts of fun stuff.
Do you feel like this is giving you total permission to get ghetto? So you have, what kind of grill do you have?
Weber. Yep, just Weber charcoal. No, nothing fancy. I like Traeger's. I like money more. So. All right, pull the salmon out. So here's our finished salmon. So you can see the albumin is just barely starting to come out, right? And when you touch it, it should feel firm but not stiff, right? It should be just a little bit of play to it. All right. So for our garnish, so for this, I'm just cutting the scallions on a bias. All right, so shrimp's done. Okay. So now the shrimp just goes into the peanut sauce. Give it a toss. All right, and then from here, we're gonna try and, normally I would use tongs, so it's a little bit of a neater plating, but we're gonna transfer this to a plate and try not to make too much of a mess here. And we'll go ahead and do a, and we can come back and we can clean it up in a second here. So, super high protein, really healthy. As far as for actual plating goes, you always want to try and stay off of the rim, right? So this got on the rim, so I'm going to go back real quick and give it a little bit of a fast cleanup. When it's messy like this for your presentation, sometimes you just got to roll with it, and so you make your garnish a little bit messy too, so it looks like, you know, you're planning on it, right? Up high. Up high. So we'll do it like that. A little bit of cilantro. All right. And then we'll do some Korean chili flakes as well.
Boom. Bam. Wow. Right there. There you go. There you go. Fist bump it.
And there you go. So that with the steamed rice that Mackenzie has over here. And then we have a taco bar set up. What we'll do is we'll pull some plates for you. We'll have you come through. You can build a plate with your Thai curry. You can build a plate with your tacos. And once you have all of your food ready to rock, I think Dani has one more special drink for you.